God holds the master like a mirror in front of the disciple, as if he is a parrot, and communicates knowledge from behind the mask. Do not hurry it along in this podcast. It is nothing other than divine communication. A parrot sees itself when peering at a mirror placed in front of it like that. Behind the mirror stands its hidden teacher. That knowing and self-tongued one is the speaker. The podcast or the parrot thought its image in the mirror was the one talking to him, none other. It learned to speak from its own kind this way. Clueless about the teacher's cunning play, he teaches from behind the actual podcast. He teaches from behind the actual mirror, for it won't learn from teachers whose forms differ. It is learned. It learned to talk from that skilled person's teachings, but it does not perceive their actual meanings. Yeah, so I don't perceive the actual meanings. I'm just reading, so. It learns speech from a human bit by bit. It can't know more of humans, though, can it? Disciples see themselves like this too, oddly. Inside the mirror of God's friend's own body. They can't see universal intellect behind their mirror, nor do they suspect. Each one believes the humans speaking there. Clueless about the mystery, unaware, each learns words but cannot know the mystery. They're parrots, not good friends for company. People learn songs of birds as well by rote. But that's an action of the mouth and throat. They don't perceive what that bird's trying to say, as Salma did in a special way. Many have learned the words of Sufis and podcasted them. Many have learned the words of Sufis, then used them once on the pulpit. But these men either gained nothing but the words they say, or God's kind mercy showed them the true way. So it could be shown the true way. Comparison of a master's transmission of this podcast of knowledge to disciples or prophet to his community when they do not have the capacity for the divine transmission and lack intimacy with God, to a parrot that has no familiarity with the form of man to be able to receive transmission of knowledge from him. God holds the master like a mirror in front of the disciple, as if he is a parrot, and communicates knowledge from behind the mirror, saying, do not hurry it along with your tongue. In this podcast, it is nothing other than divine communication. This is the beginning of an unsolvable question. When the parrot moves its beak in the mirror's face, you call it an image. It has no volition and power. It is a reflection of the actual parrot speaking, which in itself, the learner actually. It is not the reflection of the teacher who is behind the podcast. It is not the reflection of the teacher who is behind the mirror, but the speaking of the podcaster is controlled by that teacher. So this parrot image is a comparison, not an allergy. Allergy. I don't have any allegory. A mystic saw a pregnant dog with puppies barking in its belly. He was amazed. How does he barking in the belly? He was amazed and said the point of the dog's barking is to keep guard. But the barking in the mother's belly can't be to keep guard. Barking may also be to ask for company or milk, but in this situation, it has none of these uses. When he regained his composure, he prayed to God. No one knows its interpretation but God. As reply, he was told that this is the image of the state of those people who remain veiled and have not had the eyes of their hearts opened yet, regardless, claim inner vision and deep sayings in this podcast. Yeah, there's like barking, like puppies barking in the belly. Podcasters who haven't had their hearts opened. Neither strength nor support reaches them, nor does guidance reach those who listen to them in this podcast. So you're not gonna get any strength from this podcast. What? A Sufi on a 40-day retreat once saw a pregnant dog out in the street, then heard the bark of puppies suddenly from that dog's belly, where he could not see. The barking stunned him. Can such puppies, some puppies really, bark loudly from inside their mother's belly? Have any other ears heard puppies whine while still inside their mother, or just mine? He woke when he was jolted by this vision, and was each moment he felt more confusion. Yeah, there was no one but God while in retreat to now untie the knot. Yeah, so I have my problems, like I left him for God to untie the knot. Yeah. Is that what you're doing, is leaving your problems for God? Yeah, I just do meditation. I let God untie the knot. Raise your feet. He said, "Oh Lord, because of this big question, I've been held back from Zikr meditation." Yeah, if there's something that might hold me back from meditation, I just try to leave it. I leave it for the living master, and I do meditation on a past master. So you leave your problems to the living master? What kind of person are you? I've been held back from Zikr meditation. Release my wings so I can now fly upward inside your Zikr garden, its orchard. Yeah, I heard about this garden for meditation garden. A voice replied to him that very moment, "This represents the idle man's amusement." Let's see, sitting and idly podcasting. This represents the idle man's amusement, for they remain veiled, yet with closed eyes they discuss things in a vain and pointless way. The dog's bark in the womb is so redundant, it's not for guarding, neither for a real hunt. It has seen the wolf to start a fray, nor robbers that it can thus drive away. The greedy who desire to be the head have little vision, but huge boast instead, desiring buyers and their keen attention. Yeah, if I owned something, I would probably end up desiring a buyer. What? You mean if you bought a house, you would get tired of it and desire a buyer or something? Yeah. Desiring buyers and their keen attention, they prattle nonsense and lack true perception. They've never seen the moon, yet give men signs, corrupting bumpkins with their own designs. Each does it to gain buyers and high stations. Yeah. How am I going to get a high station and gain some buyers? And do you have something to sell? Well, I try to not buy things so I don't then have to sell them. But each does it to gain buyers and high stations. Without sight, he gives scores of indications. So only one buyer makes you truly gain. But these men's doubts about him still remain. To woo a worthless customer, these men will lose that one true customer again. He is buyer, God has bought, so rise above concern for other buyers' eyes. He is our buyer. You should buy into this podcast and buy into my meditation in the future. Seek out that customer who's seeking you, who knows your origin and your end too. Don't try to woo each customer you see. Yeah, don't try to convince everybody. Don't try to woo each customer you see. Don't two-time your beloved faithlessly. If that one buys, you will not gain 1 pound. He has no wisdom or intelligence. He can't buy half a horseshoe, so now why do you show rubies too for him to buy? Yeah, why, these people aren't going to buy anyway, so why even mention it? Your greed blinds you and it holds back from you. The devil makes you like himself cursed too, as with companions of the elephant. And Lot's own people, he's malevolent. The patient person finds the purchaser, since he won't sell to every customer. One who turns from that buyer throws away good fortune and eternal life that way. Eternal grief awaits all who are covetous, as with the Zarvan people who were envious. Yeah, finding a buyer. I was trying to find some listeners in this podcast. Oh, God. So I can get back to Zikr meditation. God sent all fruits from the unseen into this podcast without hesitancy or calculative doubt. Yeah, if you expend where produce comes from, you will make gains. That's the realm for profit too. Yeah, well, I did do planting in this podcast. I planted. Did you plant grapes? Yeah. Will make gains. The farmer sows most crops in the same field, for that's the origin of his last yield. He sows most back and eats a teeny bit, for it grows back and he's not doubting it. The farmer's busy buying his hand to sow. The farmer's busying his hand to sow, since from this soil his corn began to grow. The cobbler buys with what's left after food, but fine grain, leather, and cowhide, that's good. These have both been my income source before. I'll bring my livelihood, so I'll buy more. His income came from these, and so, of course, he generously will give back to a source. Yeah, that's why I'm giving back in this podcast. I give back, yeah. Leather and soil are veils, it's understood. God is the real source of our livelihood. Sow in the soil when you are sowing, so that 1,000 more crops will start growing. Yeah, I didn't exactly plant 1,000 crops, but today I went to Planktown, and on the way back I stopped at Shiloh Market and bought raspberry plants. Actually, the raspberry plants were on the big side for $11. They stood about, I'd say like, they're almost a yard tall. They were like 2-3 feet for $11, and I planted 2 raspberry plants. Wow. So that 1,000 more crops will start growing. And I planted them on the crest of the hill of the garden, where right above the grapevines, and so they were exact same place they used to be. Oh, you used to have raspberries? Yeah. I take it that you sowed in soil you thought would be the means for growth. but it was not. What? I thought that soil would be, though. I thought it would be the means for growth. So, is it or not? What will you do if nothing grows in there? Oh, no. I don't know. I guess I'm mature enough now that I'll take it in stride if some of it fails and some of the flowers fail, some of the crops fail. That's just the way it is. Oh, so you're an experienced farmer. Yeah, well, not exactly. So your crop may fail and you won't cry about it like a big baby? No. Well, you're expecting to get raspberries and you think you're going to get grapes, but they could fail. Oh, no. Well, they're rather small at the moment. I mean, it's very likely that some fail. That's why I got to plant more. I take it that you sowed in soil you thought would be the means for growth, but it was not. What will you do if nothing grows in there? For years apart from hold your hands in prayer. Well, I'm not exactly praying that the crops grow. I mean, there's lots of things to pray about, but I pray that half of them make it. You're praying only half of them make it? Why you give God such a leeway? Why you give him so much margin for error? What kind of respect do you have for God? For years apart from hold your hands in prayer, I'll beat your head before God then at once. You'll beat your head before God then at once. Both head and hand prove God gives sustenance. Thus you'll learn he's the source, and people who seek sustenance must also seek him too. Yeah, so I guess I could seek God instead of seeking the sustenance of the raspberries. Yeah, why don't you merge into God in meditation? Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. Seek sustenance from just him. Friend of mine in drunkenness, not from hashish or wine. Oh, he's saying not from hashish. It's funny they had this CBD stuff, even in Blanktown, which is almost like a Mennonite or Amish style kind of market. From hashish or wine, seek wealth from him too, not from property. Seek aid from him, not from your family. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna seek, I should seek aid, I guess, from God directly instead of aid from my family. Yeah, why do you need so much help around the farm and stuff? And why don't you get your own tools? I have been, actually. I got a whole bunch of hoes now. I've been collecting hoes. I have a hoe and another kind of hoe, and I have a spade and a shovel, and you have a lot of your own tools. Yeah, but not all of them. I got some tools. I actually got a lot of tools at the community-wide yard sale in North Fairfield. I got a drill for $5 that works, and wow, that's smart, and that's expensive, and you got a nice crescent wrench, and I got a whole bunch of tools for like $20. Wow. Seek aid from him, not from your family. So I'm seeking aid by reading the Rumi's fifth book, and I'm currently at line 1500. You'll be without others in the end, so who will you call out to then, my friend? Yeah, in the end, I don't have anybody, and I guess I'll have to seek aid from the master. And you said you You stick all your problems to the living master and you focus on your master. Your master's not alive. Well, he's alive. To his disciples. Okay. Call to him now, forget the rest. So you inherit the real wealth of this world too. Yeah, I guess by focusing on the real wealth and focusing on enlightenment and meditation, I can just get the rest of the world and inherit the real wealth of this world too. I can get it as a byproduct. I can get wealth of enlightenment, and you can get health as a side effect of just meditation. Call to him now by doing Simran or Zikr meditation and forget the rest. Do you systematically forget everything? Or so you inherit the real wealth of this world too. Yeah, if you want to get real wealth, we all know that it's very commonly known. What? It's real commonly known what real wealth is spiritual, like it's a meditation technique. Really, that's wealth, being experienced in meditation. When it's the time of someone, when it's the time of, quote, someone flees his brother, and also of a son will flee his father, at that time every friend becomes a foe. You'd been the idols that keep you reach low. They had been the idols that kept your reach low. Yeah, like all my friends did just degenerate my goals to lower level. You should not have any. That's why you don't have any friends now. Or since from the painter you had returned away, because your heart was under his art's sway. If now your friends become foes similarly and turn their face from you in enmity, take heed and say, I've won the prize this way. What was tomorrow's has arrived today. Yeah, I keep saying I refuse to reach enlightenment tomorrow. What? Yeah, I'm really get angry about that. If God offers me enlightenment tomorrow, I refuse it and say I want it today. Yeah. What was tomorrow's has arrived today. This realm's folk have become my enemy. Yeah, this realm's folk are my enemy. What's that? Who are this realm? Or is that the people of the world? I thought you were a nice guy and didn't have enemies. And this realm's folk have become my enemy. So resurrection now is shown to me. Before I flit away my time away by spending, and going shopping and wherever it is in a plank town. Actually, that's just food, and I have to eat. What? Oh, they have good prices. That's actually a good market. And you only bought lentils and beans and you only buy healthy stuff at the Planktown market. Yeah. Why is it called Planktown? Do they make planks? Well, south of Plymouth, Ohio. It's and I bought plans for food.
Michael? Necesita raqueta. Raqueta. Okay? Okay. Alright, I'll give you the number, the Java, no problem. Okay? Alright. By the train stop. You can reach him. Let's play though.
Like tomato plants. I got early girl. You got early girl? I got early girl tomatoes, and I got peppers and spaghetti squash, and I got the raspberries, and when are you going to buy trees? An apple tree and a peach tree and plum tree? Well, I only buy like what I can plant. I don't buy more than I can process the same day. What do you think, I'm a fool or something? I'm a minimalistic and also in work, so I do. What's a minimalist in work? Is that where you don't work very much? Yeah. I minimize my work. Oh, what's that? Oh, so that's the kind of minimalist you are. Oh, is that somebody who works like 1 hour and quits or something, huh? Well, no, it's just a realist. I'm a realistic persona and don't bite off more than I can chew and damage my meditation. Okay. Well, that's good. Before I flit my time away by working. Before I flit my time away by spending the rest of my life with such men, that's ending. I had bought faulty goods, but thankfully God made me see their flaws immediately. Well, yeah. Well, God has made me see the flaws immediately. What? Well, you're lucky that He's seen you. You are seeing the flaws. I should hope. He makes me see the flaws immediately. Oh, so you're not buying faulty goods in the first place. Yeah, that's my ideal. I would have lost my money otherwise and noticed defects too late with my eyes. Yeah, that's why I decided not to buy a very expensive new Prius for $40,000. What are you going to do? Look at... Your wife was looking at a Chevy, so I could look for like $15,000. I would have lost my money otherwise and noticed defects too late with my eyes. With wealth gone and life wasted, I have bought faulty goods with my life's wealth. Had he not, like selling goods and being paid false gold. Yeah, I would have God protects me from maybe spending too much because he appears and tells me not to do it. Oh, really? Yeah, he says he doesn't like me to spend too much. He gives these talks on detachment and all this stuff, and detachment from the world. And so you just buy food and plants, or what are you doing anyways? So I like selling goods and being paid false gold, but heading happily home once they were sold. Yeah, I'm happy when I sell things, but not when I buy them. Thank God the false gold was revealed to me before more of my life passed wastefully. It would have weighed on my neck then forever. A shameful waste of life thus altogether. But since its falseness was so quickly shown, how quickly sidestep it now, it is known. Yeah, when my car wears out, instead of buying a new one, I can just leave for Japan to a Zen meditation center. Oh, really? Oh, you won't have the attachment of a car hanging around and no. When your past friend shows enmity to you and its spite scab of envy comes to view, don't feel at all bad for his new aversion. Don't make yourself a stupid, clueless person. Rather thank God and pay so all can eat. Yeah, it's better if I just pay the bill and and have everybody eat. And yeah, celebrate that you fled this vile deceit, and before becoming old, you fled it fast. Yeah, I'm fleeing before I get too old. Celebrate whether you fled this vile deceit before becoming old. Yeah, that's one of my things that I like to get old before I have fled. Yeah, I don't want to wait I don't want to work on my escape before I get old. You fled it fast to seek the truthful, lasting friend at last, the lovely friend who will always be your friend. This cord gets stronger after your life's end. That friend can be the Sultan, the lofty emperor, or one whom he accepts as intercessor. You fled this counterfeiter and his crime. You have seen his fraud before the end of time. This world's people's mistreatment now of you is hidden treasure if you only knew. Yeah. This world's people's mistreatment now of you is hidden treasure if you only knew. People are made to mistreat you. Yeah, they make people, God made people just specifically to mistreat me. Oh, really? God. People are made to mistreat you. Their action compels you then to look in that direction. When life ends, you should know with certainty each will become a stubborn enemy. You'll be left in the tomb where you will moan, beseeching God, please don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone. You whose own harshness is to me more loyal than loyal men, their honey's your bestowal. Granary owner, listen to your brain, and now commit to God's earth all your grain, to keep it safe from thieves and pests there too. You should plant those plants maybe before the pests bite on them, Yeah, I got to plant. That's why I like to plant the stuff that I bought before the keep it safe from thieves and pests there too. What about the pests come though? Are there pests? Well, we shall see. Then with pest, kill the demon threatening your garden. Then with pest, kill the demon threatening you. He threatens you with poverty each day. Yeah. Well, I suppose if, I'm threatened with poverty each day. Brave falcon, make that porridge now, you pray. The mighty sultan's falcon can't allow a partridge to make its prey somehow. Their father gave advice in doing so, sowed seeds, but on bad soil none ever grew. Advisors can keep counseling one for years, but counsel also needs attentive ears. You give advice so kindly like a brother, but it goes in one ear and then out the other. Yeah, I've been giving advice and very kindly on this podcast, but it goes in one ear and then out the other. 100 speakers, podcasters' words have no effect. 100 speakers' words have no effect on those who will not listen and reject. Who better than the prophets, whose fine speech moved rocks when they used their pure breath to preach. But what moved the rocks and mountains can't free the wretches from their infidelity. Such self-conceited hearts have been made known in the Quran, rather harder than stone. I don't know about the stones. Did you have stones in the garden? Well, yeah, there's other things. Stones. God's bestowal does not require. That's the next part. A gift from God is the sole remedy. It doesn't need your receptivity. Oh, so I don't have to be receptive after all. So when you're not receptive, you get a gift from God. Rather that needs his giving to begin. Giving's the kernel, to receives the skin. Moses' rod changed to a serpent, and and we know how God transformed to white his hand. Thousands of miracles of prophets, friend, that even the best brains can't comprehend, don't come from causes, but from God's directive. Non-entities can't make themselves receptive. Thus, receptivity is not a condition, since they would not exist without God's action. I thought receptivity was importante or something. Yeah, I didn't understand. God has set causes, customs, and our pathways for seekers under the azure as mainstays. Most things will follow custom carefully. His but powerful God breaks that occasionally. He sets up customs that are lovable, but breaks such customs with a miracle. Through causes, most things reach us every day, but God can easily wipe them away. Oh no. He's not going to wipe out my raspberries, I hope. Well, he can. It says he could do what he wants. I'm reading in about line 1545 of the book 5 masnavi. And God's going to wipe away this podcast. But God could easily wipe them all this podcast away. Bound up in causes, stay within their border. But don't imagine you don't need the causer. That causer brings about his every whim. He rips up causes. They can't stifle him. Mostly he wills through causes anyway, so that the seeker can pursue the way. God forms. With no cause seen, what would he then pursue? Thus on the path he needs the cause in view. These causes veil our vision actually, because his works, his capital S, capital H-I-S, because his works, not for all eyes to see. One needs eyes that can see through causes here. Yeah, if I could see through the causes here, I could see through stuff. To uproot veils so that they disappear. If I could uproot veils, they'll see the causer then in placelessness and learn to trade and earn is meaningless. They'll see the causer then in placelessness and learn to trade and earn in meaningless and learn to trade and earn is meaningless. Placelessness, meaningless. All good and evil come here from the causer. Causes and means are nothing though, oh brother. Causes and means are nothing, oh brother. But fantasies on the king's path, no more. To let this heedlessness continue more. When God, the Maker, wanted to make people to put them to the test with good and evil, he ordered Angel Gabriel, straightway go fetch as pledge a handful of some clay. Gabriel devotedly went out to do what the Lord of the two worlds asked him to. I'm reading from Rumi, which is the Persian poet, famous poet, and the famous masnavi. So this is all famous stuff. Yeah, of course. What the Lord of the two worlds asked me to do in this podcast, I'm doing. What the Lord of the two worlds asked him to. He stretched his hand towards the ground outside, and he planted his raspberries. But then the ground withdrew, so terrified, and started to retreat him in this way. For the unique Creator's sake today, spare me my life, please go, take leave of me. Withdraw your fast deeds, reins, care considerately. Leave me, don't throw me in such tribulations of dangerous trials and burdened obligations. Yeah, I don't want to have burden obligations and dangerous trials. I thought I would outgrown that stuff. And well, you better shut up or you're going to have more tribulations and trials and obligations. No, leave me. Don't throw me in such tribulations of dangerous trials and burdened obligations for the sake of the kindness he has shown, sharing the tablet with your eyes alone. Yeah, I could share in this tablet for your eyes alone this podcast of the book, the Masnavi, book 5, in the rhyming version of for the sake of the kindness he has shown to me by giving me this book to read before I left New York, sharing the iPhone with your eyes alone. So you became all the angels' teacher and kept conversing with the Lord as speaker in this podcast. So you became all the angels' teacher and kept conversing with the Lord as speaker. Emissary to the prophets is your role. Yeah. I'm an emissary to the prophets is my role in this podcast. What? Are you an emissary or are you just reading a book right now? I'm just reading this book. Don't read too much into it here. Okay. Life of not merely body, but of soul. I'm just trying to have a life that's not just merely the body, but I'm trying to get a soul somehow by meditating and reading Persian mystical poetry. I'm hoping to get a soul greater than angel Asrafil, whose limit is bodily life. While you give life to spirit, his trumpet's blast makes bodies rise again. Yeah, I figure if I play like the trumpets shall sound, da-dun, 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 and the da-da-da-da-da. I play that like from the Messiah. I could blast my way into having a soul instead of being a deadbeat. Okay. His trumpet's blast makes bodies rise again, but your breath nurtures special hearts of men. I wish my heart would get nurtured. I've read all this stuff about the immortals with neo Confucianism and all this stuff from meditation and culture and what is that stuff from but your breath nurtures special hearts of men. The heart's life is the inner soul of bodies, so yours is better. Hearts rule over bodies. Yeah, they say that stuff. Angel Michael gives sustenance, but you nourish illuminated hearts through what you do. His gift fills up containers like a treasure. But Gabriel, your gifts are beyond a measure, better than wrathful Azrael's. It's clear, the prophet said, that mercy's wrath's superior. Mercy's wrath's superior. You are monarch of the four who bear God's throne. No. Due to your wakefulness, you lead alone. Yeah, due to my being awake, I could take a lead in this podcast alone. Due to your wakefulness, you lead alone. Yeah, I'm the leader I'm leading in this reading, so. Due to your wakefulness, you lead alone. You'll see 8 bearers on the final day. I'm going to see 8 bearers. But you will be their leader anyway. Yeah, and I'm effectively the leader in this. The ground entreated like this out of fear, guessing the reason Gabriel had come near. Gabriel felt so ashamed what it would say to him than an entry blocked this way. It had adjured him so much that instead he headed back. Lord of us slaves, he said, I didn't take your order lightly, you. Yeah, I'm not taking this podcast lightly. I mean, I may be taking it lightly, but I can take it in a heavy way later on when I listen to it again, and maybe when I understand it more thoroughly. I won't take it so lightly. Okay. I didn't take your order lightly, you. You know better than me what I've listened to. Yeah, he knows better than what I'm listening when I listen to this podcast. You know better than me what I've listened to in this podcast. The ground appealed in that name out of fear, of which the heavens stopped their spin. All seer, on hearing your name, capital name, N-A-M-E, I felt loss of honor. Otherwise, snatching clay here is no bother. Yeah, it's not really a bother for me to do the digging I've been doing in the garden. Isn't it not a bother? Well, not if I don't do it too much and don't work too hard. So, well, that's right. You're into minimizing your work, but you're still working. But you work because you minimize your work, or you don't maximize your work, so you're able to work, or are you maximizing your podcast, or your meditation, or your work, or are you trying to achieve balance by reading all this stuff and studying all your books? And when are you going to achieve the perfect balance? Well, otherwise, snatching clay here is no bother. Yeah, it's not really a bother to snatch these poems into this podcast, but you have given such strength to the likes of me. Angels can rip the skies up easily. Yeah, if you would give me more strength, I could do all this stuff that I plan to do, with playing the piano and biking around and playing tennis and digging up the garden. What are you doing anyways? Have you learned Spanish? Or, Okay. Let me get to work, I guess, and to snatch up some clay. Otherwise, snatching clay here is no bother. So don't be bothered by this podcast. God ordered this podcast. God ordered Michael, go below today. So go do this podcast. And like a lion, bring back here some clay. Yeah, I end up with clay on the top of the plants when I plant them, because this is about sowing the seeds in this podcast of poetry of Rumi. When Michael reached the ground, he stretched his hand to snatch some clay from it as he had planned. The ground shook and began then to retreat. He wept tears and then started to entreat. It makes appeals with burning breast so deeply. With tears of blood it begged him so serenely, in kind God's name, incomparable alone, who made you bearer of his glorious throne? Yeah, who made me the bearer of this podcast, this glorious poetry? You supervise the whole world's sustenance, so you serve those thirsting for his grace at once. Yeah, I'm serving people who have a thirst for his grace in this podcast. You serve those thirsting for his grace in this podcast at once. For Michael comes from Ko, thus you become sustenance measure, just like your name. Save me, set me free, though I am mere mud. Yeah, I've become from all that planting of the tomatoes and the squash, the spaghetti squash and the raspberries. I am mere mud. What happened to you? You got a cold and you got covered in mud and you become mud, a bunch of mud. Wow. Yeah, as I sink and become weaker and less spiritually developed, I become more muddy. I'm more mud than soul. You sound like it. My God, save me. Set me free, though I am mere mud. Yeah, I'm trying to get set free from the mud of accumulating on my physical body by reading the poetry of Rumi. So I'm actually on page 99 and paperback copy of the book 515, line 1590, 1590 in the masnavi, in the Oxford World's classics, Joeid Mujadidi. Oh, that's exact. How are you going to get the mud off? Witness that I speak in this podcast. Witness that I speak while I'm drenched in blood, a rich mine of God's mercy. Michael said, how can I pour salt on those wounds that bleed? This devil is the mine of wrath, for he raised shrieks from members of humanity. Mercy excels wrath, and for the Creator, kindness is dominant in his own nature. Well, we shall see if he's going to be kind or not. And help me to finish this podcast. And I don't know if he's going to help me update my iPhone and work out the storage problems. Why should he do that? Kindness is dominant in his own nature. God's servants share his character, of course. Their water skins have his stream as their source. Yeah, his stream. What is that? Is that covered in the dream of Scipio, like from Cicero and the De Republico and what's this dream? Yeah, there's this book about soul music and about the afterlife and mapping the afterlife and ancient times. And the book, chapter 5, is on soul music. Oh, wow. Are you going to put some soul into this podcast? Yeah, his stream. Their waterskins have his stream as their source in this podcast. So, hear God's messenger and guide who led. Man will adopt the king's faith, he once said. Michael went to the Lord of his religion without the actual object of his mission. Knower of secrets, peerless king, he said. The ground's cries stopped me in my tracks instead. Tears always meant a lot to me, to you, so I could not ignore its tears when it would cry. Wailing and sighs as well meant much to you, so I could not ignore the claims here too. You valued teary eyes much previously, so how could I ignore them facing me? Yeah, since he values teary eyes, it seems that, why do I have to have them? My God. 5 times the servant gets the invitation. Come to the prayer and make your lamentation. Yeah, I've got invited to the Master's tour and 5 times and on the internet and in the email. It says, come to the prayer and make your lamentation. Muezzins say, come to the good. That's meant for hope against the odds and deep lament. If you want one to suffer grief today, you block his heart from entering wailing's way. Suffering with rain on him without protection, when there's no desperate cry for intercession. If you want one release from tribulation, you lead his soul to paths of supplication. You said regarding those humanities who met your wrath, why didn't groups like these begin to supplicate then out of fear, so that their suffering might thus disappear? Their hearts disheartened and their sins appeared to them as good acts that need not be cleared. So they did not think they were sinners then. How can tears flow from eyes of stubborn men? Yeah, I don't think that if I'm stubborn, I don't know if the tears will flow. So, remember, so God forms a human body of clay. Why did he do it? Why do I have to be made out of clay? And, yeah, my body has been made out of clay. I continue this podcast with readings associated with meditation. And I've been eating a lot, so I'm reading about the harm of food. And so that's page 109 in this Masnavi book, the Masnavi, book 5. Oxford World Classics, Cherry Dating. So, explaining the harm of sweet and greasy food in this world and how they block you from the food from God. As it is said, hunger is the food from God, with which he revives the bodies of the true ones. So he's saying intermittent fasting is the food from God, meaning that the food from God comes after hunger. The prophet has also said, I pass the night with my Lord and he gives me food and drink. God has said, they are given provisions and rejoice. This is line 1745, book 5 of the Masnavi. If you sidestep these foul scraps as you should, You'll then find pastries and most glorious food. Though you eat many kilos of such pastries, you will stay light and pure just like the berries. They won't give kidney pains and flatulence or torture you with bellyaches, not once. If you eat little here, you're hungry still, and you'll belch loudly if you eat your fill. Eat little, and you'll suffer a bad mood. And aches feel bloated when you're full with food. Through food from God and His refined nutrition, you'll sail up like a ship across the ocean. He's saying cosmic nectar is better. Or meditation. Be patient and persistent when you fast. I guess you have to be to fast anyway, so. Ready for God's food to arrive at last. God, who acts kindly and lifts burdens too, bestows gifts when they are in expectant view. A sated man won't count the time and wait. Will my food come now, or will it be late? But someone starving will ask, where is it? Yeah, I'm wondering, where is it myself? When am I going to get something like a crumbs from the master or some sort of life-inspiring glance, or even an ordinary glance? Etc. After his search, and as he's expecting it, the food won't come unless you are expectant from that realm which is totally transcendent. Wait for it to reach you expectantly, as for the feast of heaven valiantly. All hungry men find food eventually. Fortune's sun shines on each one generously. When an expectant guest eats little food, the host will bring instead a dish that's good. Yeah, so, if you eat little food, he'll bring something better. Unless he's poor or suffers avarice. The folly of wishing the world would last forever. Don't doubt providing God, who's generous. Lift your head like tall mountains you can view, so that the sun's first rays fall unto you. That solid, lofty mountain peak you see waits for the sun to rise expectantly. The world would be so lovely, someone said, if only we would not all end up dead. If there were no death, someone else replied, it wouldn't be worth straw that's stacked and tied. More like an unthreaded and unused old stack, left in the field for which no one turns back. You're claiming death is life, you are just sowing or seeds in barren soil where they are not growing. Deceitful reasons sees things back to front. It claims life's death. You fool are ignorant. And to tell it like it is in this podcast. Rumi, he says, oh God, show everything the way it is. In truth, in this realm of deceitfulness. Yeah, how do you get the truth out? No one who's died regrets death, though he may regret preparing little for that day. Oh, yeah, no one regrets death? No one who's died regrets death. Though he may regret preparing little for that day. Oh, he's saying you should prepare for death. Well, how do you do that? Well, it's with all these religions often tell you to prepare. Is that what you go to church for? Yeah, at church they'll tell you you have to do this or that to get into heaven. Oh, so you have to go to church. Wait a minute, is that preparation? Though he may regret preparing little for that day. He's left a pit for a vast open plain, with fortunes, pleasures, joy in that domain. So the open plain, is that like the high plains drifter? Are you going to live on the high plains? Are you going to the plains? What do they call those plains? To have the plains west of Chicago. He's left a pit for a vast open plain with pleasures, fortunes, joy in that domain. Transported there from a house filled with sorrow and mourning that was hideous and so narrow. Not lies, but a great seat of truthfulness, drunk on fine wine and not feigned drunkenness. From this material fire temple he's bound to that famed seat of truth where God is found. If you have not lived so far enlightenedly, only seconds remain, die valiantly. If you've not lived enlightened, how am I going to die valiantly? Yeah, this is the way you're reading the book, I guess. I'm still on coming to line 1775, book 5 of the Masnavi. Many sins that are blessed. Joys come when punishment is expected. Oh my God. God could change my bad deeds to good ones. As said in our dear prophet's own tradition, bodies are told, arise at resurrection. Of course, this is when he says prophet, he's probably referring to Muhammad, because this is Sufism and it's rumi. As said in our dear prophet's own tradition, bodies are told, arise at resurrection. Holy God's order is the trumpet blast. Lift up your heads from those soil graves at last. Each soul returns to its own body then, as consciousness returns each dawn again. Souls recognize their bodies at dawn too, entering its ruins just like treasures do. They recognize their bodies and they enter. The goldsmith's soul won't go in a clothes mender. The scholar's soul returns in the professor. The tyrant's soul goes back to that oppressor. So my soul, a scholar, if I become scholarly reading this book, I could return in the professor. The scholar's soul returns in the professor. The tyrant's soul goes back to that oppressor. Divine knowledge bestows this recognition, as lambs know their own hues through intuition. The foot can tell in darkness its own shoe. Of course, my dear, souls find their bodies too. Am I supposed to find a body, or am I finding my astral body or causal body, or I'm finding something? Why am I finding a body? I thought you knew this stuff. I thought you understood Rumi and you were a scholar. Oh, no. Of course, my dear souls find their bodies too. Dawns the small resurrection, refuge seeker. Oh, dawn, yeah. I'm reading this podcast at dawn after meditation, and so Dawn is a small resurrection in this podcast, Refuge Seeker. So you can find refuge in this podcast at dawn. Dawn's the small resurrection. Well, they're saying that like going to sleep each night is like could be a small death, or going to bed each night is death, and waking up is rebirth. Whoa. Oh, so that's a miniature reflection of life itself, life and death, and dawn's the small resurrection in this podcast. That is if you're podcasting at dawn. Dawn's the small resurrection, refuge seeker. Analogy reveals which one's superior. The books of deeds fly left and right that day, just as the soul at dawn flies back to clay. The soul at dawn. Yeah, I'm flying back into the clay of my body after meditating in this podcast. The books of deeds fly left and right that day, just as the soul at dawn flies back to clay. The books of meanness, generosity, corruption, shifting moods, and piety. Yeah, so I could drift back into meanness, generosity, corruption, shifting moods, and piety. So I could be pious and shift around and be mean, then be mean. Oh, okay. When one awakes at dawn from slumber, then the good and evil both return again. Yeah, when I return to thinking, to using my mind, or having desires, making plans and stuff, then I return to both good and evil, depending on what I do. When one awakes at dawn from slumber, then the good and evil both return again. That's why I'm trying to hide from that good and evil in this podcast, by just reading, so I can escape my return to good and evil. Are you going to do evil today? Well, if he had been self-disciplined before, the disciplined self will come to the fore. Yeah, I'm trying to be self-disciplined before, so if I do the discipline of meditation, maybe, and if I do more meditation, then I could go, I'm thinking I may go jog, and because the jogging, I maintain the position that fit body is helpful overall to your health and to meditation. Is that why you do it, or is that just for your narcissistic improvement of your ego and your photos on Instagram, or you've got a young wife, or is that, what's the reason? No, it's self-beneficial. You can tell from, you keep your legs working and stuff, and your knees, you need to exercise. So, yeah, you're more functional when you exercise. So, yeah. If he had been self-disciplined before, if I had, yesterday I walked a little in the morning, then I played serve hits, practiced my serve, and then I walked again in the evening. So if he had been self-disciplined before, if I'm self-disciplined before this podcast, then I will at least have my legs will bend when I'm supposed to do meditation and stop complaining. Yeah, I don't like it when my knees complain. They should be obedient. I'm practice meanness towards my body. Oh, you get mean and rough on your knees? Yeah. The self-disciplined self will come to the fore. But if he's been vile, immature, astray, his left hand mourns its blacklist on that day. If he had been devoted, pure, and zealous, yeah, if I had been zealous, when he awakes, he gains a pearl that's precious. Our sleep and waking testify to you. So basically the way you sleep and the way you awake testifies to God. Oh, really? Yeah, like if you just stay up late and watch TV or whatever it is, and then you don't wake up. Or if you go to sleep early and you wake up and do meditation, it testifies to God. Well, that's devotion, So you're showing off that you did meditation and you're trying to get points for your devotion in this podcast. Yeah, well, yeah, it seems that way. Yeah. When he awakes, he gains a pearl that's precious. Yeah, I want to get the pearl, so this is sort of about my grade, my spiritual grade. I'm trying to accumulate points and trying to get the bliss of meditation, and benefits, and the self-healing, and trying to get rich in spiritual capital. When he awakes, he gains a pearl that's precious. Our sleep and waking testify to you. They tell of death and resurrection too. The lesser resurrection shows the greater. The lesser death reveals the death that's major. So it's like saying going to sleep reveals the death that's major. You're supposed to make each day count as if in the same way you're supposed to make your life count. So, of course, your life is just a series of days. So you make each day count and you make your life count. Make each life count. And when you reincarnate, try to make each life count. Why are you wasting your time then if you think it should be counted? The lesser resurrection shows the greater. The lesser death reveals the death that's major. Did you go to the graveyard? Yeah, I went to the graveyard, actually. Actually, I found the stones of Dr. McCannon and his wife, Philomena, the Blackman. Oh, yeah, they're right by the church. You hadn't even seen those stones, no. Yeah, this is the first time in my life I have seen my great, whoever they are, what are they? Great or something, grandparents. Yeah, you are really ineffective and you've wasted your time, yeah. Well, I did do the lesser death. The lesser death reveals the death that's major. These books are unclear and imagined here. Yeah, why are you so unclear about it? Well, yeah, I'm saying in one of my walks, I went to the graveyard and I actually walked that graveyard. Yeah, you could never do that with somebody. They'd think you're a weird, morbid person. Okay. So I just went. That's similar to Kirpal Singh or something. So a lot of these saints, they recommended going to the graveyard so I could be reminded of the major death. Oh, is that beneficial? Yeah, people don't like it, but it's actually could be beneficial, I suppose, to people who are awake. These books are unclear and imagined here in the great resurrection. They'll be clear. Yeah, at the time of the great resurrection, this podcast will become clear to its meaning. when you play it after death, you can play it again. A hidden fancy here with mere hints shown. It will grow there to real forms widely known. So it finally will get some more hits and more listeners after death. It will grow there to real forms widely known. The architect's idea for future structures is in him like a seed in soil that nurtures. When the idea, they have these houses, Clayton homes, you can get I guess you need a lot or something clearly to put it on. But you can get a new prefab sort of house from Clayton Homes. They say the base price is $80,000 before the options. That's what they need, sort of, is like, say, these housing prices would be lowered if you had a lower cost of market in new homes or something. I don't know. But I thought you were against this mushrooming of houses on the farmland and planting more grass and having lawn mowers running. Yeah, I'm conflicted in that area. The architect's idea for future structures is in him like a seed in soil that nurtures. When the idea that's inside him comes out, it's like what seeds in soil were caused to sprout. Every idea in his head, one could mention, becomes a format as its own resurrection. The architect's idea that his mind knows is like the seed in soil that quickly grows. With these two resurrections, I intend to teach their moral to believers, friend. Yeah, I'm intending to teach these morals to believers in this podcast about the resurrections, the two kinds. With these two resurrections, I intend to teach their moral to believers, my friend. On resurrection sunrise all around, the foul and fair will rise up from the ground. They'll run to destiny's court to be tried. The crucible with real and false inside. Yeah, well, they normally have a trial. Are you going to court? They have a trial. Well, they do have an accounting. They have accountants to check out your deeds and stuff. And really? They'll run to destiny's court to be tried in the crucible with false and real inside. The real coin will go there so joyfully, the false coin with extreme anxiety. Yeah, I'm not sure what level I'll be going at. I mean, I should check on my crimes of the past and see. I should have some credits for meditation. What about the false coins? Do you have any false deeds? I better check my bank account. And then each moment tests arrive and start. Bodies disclose the secrets from the heart. As when a lamp shows well water and its oil, and when fresh saplings rise up from the soil. Through onion, leek, and poppy flowers, we see winter's secret in spring so vividly. Winter's secret in spring. Winter's secret. We are devout. The verdant say instead, like violets, others drop their heads in dread. Eyes boggling due to danger that awaits, weeping like fountains, fearful of their fates. Their eyes can only wait there wide open wide, dreading the book of deeds on the left side. I wonder what's on the left side of the book of deeds. Yeah, I thought you were wiping out your bad deeds through meditation, and I thought you had some sort of plan to overcome karma, and you had gone and you had completed your karma. Yeah, I thought that by coming to the parental house, I'd wrapped up my karma and completed and come clean the house and looked at the old family documents and sort of like the Chinese, they go to do ancestor worship, and I completed my karma. What? Then why do you have a book of deeds? Well, you're not efficient and not optimized, so... Well, I don't know how you optimize your meditation. Is that what this podcast is about? Their eyes roll back left, then right to try to see. Books don't come on the right side readily. They don't come on the right side readily. A book comes to a man that brings distress. It's all black, full of sins and wickedness. Yeah, I guess if you bring distress to people, it's going to get written in the book, and, oh no. How is that? Well, the AI programs, they keep track of, now that they're keeping track of all your internet postings and the Instagram and the Facebook and the AI programs still, yeah. A book comes to a man that brings distress. It's all black, full of sins and wickedness, without a single good deed's saving grace. Just harm caused to the saints' hearts in its place. Without a single good deed's saving grace. Just harm caused to the saints' hearts in its place. Foulness and sins from top to bottom, and mockery of all the mystics in the land. Yeah, the thing is that there's an embedded mockery going on, and people don't respect the mystics. Yeah, you better pay some respect. Mockery of all the mystics in the land. Is this podcast a mockery, or you are mocking the mystics in this podcast? Yeah. Yeah, you should be more respectful when you read Rumi. This is not good, but yeah, well, it's better to read it with humor than not to read it. Oh, okay. All right, then it's okay that you're reading this, yeah. Mockery of all the mystics in the land, with all his thefts and fraud, each single lie. The Pharaoh-like pretentious claims for I. Once that wretch reads his own book, he will know his onward journeys to the place below. Like thieves, he'll climb the gallows, though that's hard. Sins clear to all forgiveness is way barred. Those numerous claims and his justification. Yeah, I'm always thinking of making claims, and claims of my good deeds and my justification for what I'm doing. Yeah, you shouldn't be making justifications all the time. Don't think about that stuff. Those numerous claims and his justification stuffed in his mouth to give him suffocation. Yeah, usually what happens when I justify myself, I suffocate myself. Oh, okay. Those numerous claims in his justification stuffed in his mouth to give him suffocation in this podcast. Stolen goods on his person or soon found at his home, but excuses not around. He walks now to the goal of hell with blame. because thorns cannot ever flee the flame. Those angels, front and back, that were unseen now, like police guards, can be clearly seen. They prod him as they lead him now away. Go to your kennel, dog, we hear them say. Oh my God, I hope I'm not pushed into the kennel. Yeah, you should have escaped this stuff. I mean, I thought you had a program and stuff, and you were meditating, and you were avoiding sin. They prod him as they lead him now away. Go to your kennel, dog, we hear them say. He drags his feet so much along the street, hoping he can avoid the fate he'll meet. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid a bad fate, of course, and I will drag my feet along the street when I go for a jog. He drags his feet so much along the street, hoping he can avoid the fate he'll meet. Then stands expectantly, but makes no sound. In hope, he tries to turn his face around. Tears pour down now, just like an autumnal rains. Apart from hope, that what else of his remains? He keeps on looking back continually to face the holy court and its decree. Yeah, I keep looking back and the decrees that happened in the court and the divorce court and any other courts. And do you have to go to court? He keeps looking back continually to face the holy court and its decree. Well, yeah. Well, I guess there is a court. They have judgment, but you're supposed to be able to get help if you have a master. So it's like, is that like having a lawyer or something? Do you need a lawyer? From radiant realms, God sends down his command. Tell him, you biggest wastrel in the land. Tell you biggest wastrel in the land. Tell him. He's saying that I'm the biggest wastrel in the land? Huh. What do you now expect, you wicked one? Why do you look around still, giddy one? Your book of deeds has reached your hand. You who annoy God and still worship Satan too. Well, he's saying that I'm annoying God and I'm still worshiping material things, and I'm looking around at material things. Oh, what's wrong with you? What happened that you became the biggest wastrel in the land? Well, it's the looking around thing. Since you have seen your book, why have you turned to look back? Yeah, I saw my book, and I did have a near-death experience and went into the realm of the dead, and I was up in the higher planes, and I saw the book of the dead. Wow. So why did you look back? Since you have seen your book, why have you turned to look back? Yeah, if you know about this stuff and you know that there is the tunnel going up into the heavens and the third eye and all this stuff, why do you look back? Look instead at what you've earned. Why do you tarry pointlessly? Guess he's talking about me. You claim that you're teaching other people, but this is directed to you. Okay. Why do you tarry pointlessly in this podcast? Well, why do you tarry pointlessly? I do tarry pointlessly quite often, but I do meditation. Well, all right, well, he's saying you still are tarrying pointlessly. Okay, all right, so what I'll do is I'll go to Chicago, so I'm gonna go see the master, I'll do meditation morning and evening. I could always go to satsang. I could read this book. Okay. Why do you tarry pointlessly? What right do you have to seek in the pit some light? I'm seeking the light in the pit? What right do you have to seek in the pit some light? Well, I have the right, I think, as a human being. All human beings have the right to seek the pit. Not the pit, but the light in the pit. All right, so you have the right. Yeah, that's basic human rights. What right do you have to seek in the pit some light? Neither were you obedient outwardly, nor do you then aspire to inwardly. Yeah, I wasn't obedient. I'm not very obedient. So yeah, you still bulk at obeying. You don't obey the ministers, the pastors. You don't at the church. You don't obey the pastors. No. Oh, when I did translated the pastors from, you put in pastor in Google Translate and under Spanish, and you translate it to English. It says sheep herder. So I don't know. So I don't obey outwardly the pastors. Neither were you obedient outwardly, nor did you then aspire to inwardly. Neither did you stay up at night to pray. Well, stay up at night to pray. These things, these all-night vigils. I've heard of that stuff, but I'm trying to be practical, and I do meditate in the evening, and I get up early to meditate, but it says, neither did you stay up at night to pray. All right, well, please a little more high performance than Lord, did you fast and do about? By the way, I'm tripping. Oh, I'm in trouble. Yes, I'm supposed to stay up at night to pray and fast. Yeah, so I guess you've got to do a fast. Neither did you avoid bad deeds, you said, nor did you look behind or up ahead. What is ahead? Your death and agony. What is behind? Your friend's death previously. Yeah, some of my friends are already dead. Oh, you don't have to mention them. I mean, this podcast is depressing enough, so. Well, it's not necessarily depressing. I mean, it doesn't turn out depressing if you stay up at night and pray and do a fast. A fast isn't necessarily depressing at all. A fast can be rejuvenating, if anything, and healing. What is behind your friend's deaths previously? Neither was there repentance for oppression. You who showed wheat for barley and deception. Your weighing scales weren't telling the right weight. Yet you hope you'll be fairly judged by fate. Since you leaned to the left, since you leaned to the left with all your fraud. Yeah, if you're leaning to the left, wait, why should your right hand get your book from God? What you earn is a shadow next to you. Hunchback, that's why your shadow is hunched too. Such harsh words come from that side now to you. that even would bend sides of mountains too. The slave says, I'm 100 times worse, Lord, than what you have expounded every word. You covered up worse things. You are generous, though you are full. You have full knowledge of my wickedness. Putting aside my efforts and exertion, good, evil, unbelief, devout religion, my supplications made so powerlessly. Fancies and whims of mine and men like me, being upright and being wicked in its place. He's saying that my fancies and whims and men like me being upright or wicked, or being wicked in its place. So this is either an upright or a wicked podcast. I always held out hope in your pure grace and your pure kindness to us all regardless. O generous one who gives to all regardless, I turned towards your generosity and I ignored my actions totally. So I could turn towards the mercy of God and ignore my actions totally. So I'm gonna ignore my actions and maybe they won't get imprinted in a book. Oh, is that your plan? If you forget your bad deeds, they may not get written in the book. Yeah. I turned towards your generosity and I ignored my actions totally. I turned to hope in you immediately, for you gave me my being originally. For free you gave the robe of my existence. I've always counted on you, capital U, from that instance. Yeah, you should count on God instead of yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, okay. That'll solve the problem. Okay. Recounts one's sins, then we'll see. The purest kindness comes so generously.